Greetings everyone, Robert Wainscott here, and welcome to my Bonamassa 58 Black Beauty guitar review. Now, one of the things I should probably start off mentioning is I don't do product reviews. If you've looked at anything I post on my channel, it's all builder, designer stuff. Either building something or trying to make something work. I don't do product reviews, so just bear with me. And since I don't do professional product reviews, probably the only way I can really talk about this product and what happened is just tell you how I came about having this. And just yesterday I noticed that Bonamassa and Anderton Guitars both dropped videos featuring this Epiphone guitar, this brand new Epiphone guitar that had just dropped. And I'm a fan of Epiphone guitars. I have both Gibson and Epiphone guitars, and I really like the Epiphone Les Paul Custom. I have one from 2008 that I've heavily modified, but it is my workhorse guitar. It was put together in China, but it's held together all these years, and it doesn't give me any problems. And it's just been a great platform to stick other parts in, and I really enjoy playing it. I also have a 2000 Korean-made Epiphone Les Paul Deluxe, and I find that I play that quite often. I love the mini humbuckers that are in it. It just seems to thin out some of the low-end mud that the traditional humbucker gives you. Both Epiphone guitars, both of those are heavily modified, but they were great platforms. What got me excited about this particular guitar was that it looks like Epiphone did some of the things that I would naturally do once I would get a hold of the guitar. Put in switchcraft switches, put in CTS pots, your orange drop caps, your Tusk nut, and I was pretty excited about that. I said, well, here's an Epiphone guitar. It's a custom, and it looks like they've done all the things that I would do once I got my hands on it. Plus, I've got to say I was really taken by the antique look about this, and we'll get to all that here shortly. I might as well just run down how it all went down. So yes, as soon as I saw those videos, I got on the phone immediately. I called all of the local music stores, and lucky for me, my local guitar center was pulling one, the only one they had, out of a box while I was calling them. And I said, well, just put it right back in the box. Here's my credit card number. I'll be down tomorrow to get it. And that's exactly what I did. The first thing, and we'll just take this in order, the first thing I noticed as I went to Guitar Center and unboxed it was I was really impressed with the case. Yes, I realize that it's just a silk screen, and it didn't cost them any extra to do so, but I like how they lettered the case. I thought that was really kind of classy. I like the gold fur inside. As far as case candy, no tools or anything for the truss rod, but it did come with a certificate of authenticity and a photograph of Joe Bonamassa, holding one of these guitars. And I thought that was kind of nice. So I did attempt to play it in the music store. I've got to say that one thing Epiphone maybe could do, and they really could, because this is a Chinese-made guitar, and labor costs in Asia being as low as they are, they should probably pay someone to give these guitars a better setup. If, a less experienced player or someone, not as, I just have luthier tools just coming out of my ears. Someone that doesn't do that kind of work would probably be intimidated by this guitar. The setup is really, it's almost unplayable. And before I get to the sound demo, I'm gonna definitely have to strip this down. Of course, I still have to remove the plastic from the pick guard and from the pickups. It still has its plastics on it. I'm gonna restring it. It comes with 10s. I don't really like the strings that came with it at all. But I'm gonna restring it with some 9s. I'm going to set the pickup heights. I've already taken a rocker over the frets. I've got 3, I know I'm being picky, but 3 frets that I'm going to knock down a little bit, just so I can get the action as low as possible. So this guitar will get a complete setup, before I go into sound demos. And speaking of sound demos, to do that, I'm going to use my homemade rocket amp here. It's 1 preamp tube. It's a pentode preamp tube, 1 power tube, 10 watts into a Celestian Blue Alnico. It's about as basic as you can get for slightly dirtier tones. I've got a tube screamer. Perhaps I'll use my Rangemaster treble booster that I built if I really want to push things. But my first impressions before even all that, this is a really solid guitar. It has a 50s profile neck, so it's a little beefier than when they went into the 60s sort of slim line. It's it's not baseball bat, but it's definitely a thicker neck. It has some girth to it. I think this thing will be able to really hold up well. I don't see this neck ever shifting anywhere. Of course, you can go online and look up all the specs that Epiphone provides, but it does have an ebony fretboard, which I thought was nice, in an Epiphone, which, some people do consider to be a lower line. But, in my opinion, if you're willing to give Epiphone $800, then they definitely give you a lot of guitar for that in return, in my opinion, to get that same guitar out of their parent company, Gibson. You'd really have to give them 3 times that to get what looks to be the same quality. It doesn't have any sharp fret ends. Unlike my SG Modern, my Gibson SG Modern that I bought last year, that immediately had to go back to Gibson for repairs. The fit and finish on this is really it's just a gorgeous guitar. Bought it just for the looks alone. I mean, you could buy this just for the looks alone. If you hear through my microphone where it sounds like a herd of elephants, those are just my cats upstairs hopping around. So I'm gonna step off for a bit. I'm gonna give this thing the tune-up it needs. Like I said, it's gonna get new strings. I definitely like to do a top wrap. I'm gonna bring the action down even more. I was debating whether or not I was gonna file the nut down. In my opinion, it needs it. I also know that I ruin about 50% of the nuts that I do this to. My success rate in nut filing is 50%, and I don't feel like doing that right now. So, yeah, it's just going to get some new strings. It'll get its frets polished. It'll get a couple of them knocked down. It'll get its pickups balanced better. I don't know why they sent this to me, or they would send it out the way they did. In the store, the balance was wildly off. And again, if this is, if you're not comfortable working on guitars, just know that you would buy this and have to have a professional set it up for you. In my opinion, at least for me anyways, it came unplayable. So I'm going to get it all fixed up. I probably don't need to show you what that looks like. Maybe I'll just pop a couple photos or something. And then when I come back, probably with the beard by the time I get it done, let's hope not, I will be able to give you some sound demos of it. And, maybe we'll even do some comparisons. these are the Epiphone version of their, I believe, their Burstbucker. I have the Gibson Burstbuckers. We can maybe do some shootouts there. Let's see how this thing plays. Let's see how it sounds. Well, everybody, now that you've been subjected to my noodling, let's talk about the pros and cons of this instrument right here. And let's start with the cons. And the first con I'd have to point out, and that I pointed out earlier, was setup. This particular guitar came with a bowed neck. I had 6 frets that I had to file down and recrown. Of course, that also meant I had to adjust its intonation. I also really need to file the nut down. I didn't do that, otherwise this video would probably never get made, as I went through the process of destroying nuts. The setup on this guitar took me about 3 hours. A professional could probably blast through it put in an hour. My advice to you is, if for $800, if you get this in a music store, make them throw in a setup. Make them, go through it before you get it. Know that if you order it online and it gets shipped to you in the mail, that you're going to, you're probably going to have to do an extensive setup on it. And I really don't understand, because this, like I said, this guitar was fabricated in China. I firmly believe now the CNC machine doesn't know what country it's in, so it doesn't matter that much anymore. But labor costs in China are lower. They probably could have paid somebody, $1 or $2 to do a nice setup on it, before it came to me. But that said, this thing is, I was able to set it up, and it isn't rocket science. The other con might be its color black. If you don't like fingerprints on your guitar, and by the way, this is my first black guitar. I don't own any black guitars, and I was really surprised that I was having to take a polishing cloth to it, pretty much continuously. Maybe I just need to buy clothing that's made of polishing cloths, and I can just rub myself on the guitar. For some of you, that might be a con. I know I'm just being picky, but I have to have something on my list. So, setup, the color. Oddly enough, this middle pickup is a bit of a con. I'm not used to having a pickup there, and I noticed that I found myself digging into that pickup. It's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to playing this guitar. That and this chunky neck. It's, I tend to prefer the 60s slim line a little more. I'm not saying it's bad. If you like slim necks, this could be a potential con. So with that out of the way, let's talk about pros. The first one would be the color black. It's absolutely gorgeous. While it can be a con, it's also a pro. A reason to get this. It's an absolutely stunning instrument. The other pro is this additional pickup. It really adds to the tonal possibilities of this instrument. It can both be a pro and a con. If you don't mind having that pickup there, if that's something you can play around with, then that shouldn't be an issue. Another pro I'd like to add in is I dug into the wiring and I looked around, and typically with any Epiphone guitar, the first thing I do is I'll tear its wiring out. I'll just tear the wiring right out. It's usually junk, and throw it all away. And you know, Epiphone wiring usually just gets a big F for me. And I can say, having looked inside the cavity here, you know what? I give it a C. I give it a C. This time around, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to tear it out. It's definitely a step up from their other instruments. You know, still not quite where I would want the wiring to be, but definitely acceptable. The other pro would have to be the price, really. At $800, this is an awful lot of guitar. For $800, you know, like I said, the finish is gorgeous. I think the pickups are perfectly fine. You know, maybe slightly lower output than you know. I didn't measure them against you know, what they, you know, the burst buckers they threw inside the SG over there. But I really like the pickups. You know, I guess my final thoughts on this would be definitely a buy. I think it's worth the money. I don't think this is one of those guitars that you know, you're going to buy it for $800 and you're going to have to sell it for, you know, $350 a year from now. You know, if you decide to do that, I think this is one of those signature models that's only gonna rise in value. So that's my final thoughts on that. Thanks for you know, checking out my quick review on this. Like I said, I was so excited about it. You know, even though I don't typically do product review kinds of things, you know, I'm a builder. You know, I build stuff. I was just, you know, so pleased to get my hands on one of these, and we'll see where it takes me. I'm going to have to really, you know, like you probably saw, I struggle a bit to play it because of the neck, but I'm going to work on it. And all right, well, thank you guys very much.